I want to push back, Mr. Goffman, on some things that have been said in this hearing. The number one cause of death in this world is lack of energy. And there are many studies that suggest that the higher the CO2 emissions in a country, the higher the GDP, and the higher the life expectancy. And one cause of death in this world is lack of energy. And there are many studies that suggest that the higher the CO2 emissions in a country, the higher the GDP, and the higher the life expectancy. And for us to be having an all-out assault from the EPA with rule after rule and weaponization after weaponization on liquid fuels and on primary sources of energy and on all the things that have made this country the richest, most powerful country in the world are just unbelievable. What's the range on your electric vehicle? What is the range on your electric vehicle? 250?
Microphone.
250 miles?
Anecdotally, in my personal experience.
Which is the exact same range on one of the manufacturer's pickup trucks, except for when you add load to it and when temperature starts to drop. So a pickup truck, an electric vehicle pickup truck, is now 40% less, which at 240 miles is about 100 miles less. That's 140 miles. It's not reasonable. It doesn't work. I assume you support the president and his initiatives.
Of course, yes.
Okay. Do you support his desire to kill fossil fuels?
I'm not aware that he has a desire to kill fossil fuels.
Mr. Goffman, that was a clear message that he said when he was being elected to President of the United States. Do you support killing fossil fuels?
In my role as implementing the Clean Air Act, no.
Is it your goal to kill liquid fuels?
My goal is to improve air quality and address climate and implement the Clean Air Act, which last time I looked does not authorize EPA to, as you put it, to kill fossil fuels.
That's right. It doesn't, but your policies are doing that. And they're actually going to decrease our quality of life here, and they're going to put the most vulnerable in our world in jeopardy, and they're going to kill the dealerships that my colleagues just mentioned. I want to follow up on your response to my colleague that the EPA is still looking at California's waiver request for the Advanced Clean Cars 2 regulation. You claim that you've not looked at this yet and you'd not look at light-duty vehicles at the same time, but in the recent LDV proposal that your office wrote, AC2 and Section 177 are used as a justification as to why EPA should introduce and move forward with such stringent standards. This sounds like the EPA is using AC2 and a waiver that has not yet been granted or reviewed as justification for their light-duty vehicles rules. Is the agency making decisions before a waiver has been granted?
Congressman, let me check on that, because
this was a response in this hearing that you said to one of my colleagues.
Well, my understanding, let me check to make sure that my experience is that we do not rely on regulations from California where we haven't granted the waiver.
So the waiver has not yet been granted?
It has not been.
So would it be used as justification?
Let me check on that.
Is it standard practice for the EPA to use a waiver that has not been granted as justification?
In my experience, we have not. But your question makes me a little nervous. Would like to get back to you.
It makes me nervous as well, Mr. Goffman.
I'd like to get back to you with a well-founded answer.
How much electricity does the United States demand each year?
I don't know that number off the top of my head.
Okay, it's 4 terawatts annually. Mm-hmm. So the Secretary of Energy didn't know it. The EPA doesn't know it. FERC probably doesn't know it. Who else doesn't know it in this country? And we're mandating electric vehicles. What's the percentage increase in electricity demand if we get to the 2030 and 2035 mandates that your agency is pushing for and the administration is pushing for? What is the percentage increase that we will need?
0.4% in 2030 and 4% in 2050.
Okay, so the Secretary of Energy sat right there 2 weeks ago and she said it's going to double our electricity demand, and you're giving me a much more accurate or at least specific answer. You guys have no idea how much demand is going to be there. Where is that electricity going to come from?
Well, first of all, we did analyze the demand that the implementation of these proposals.
EPA analyzed it, or
Yes,
department?
we did. We analyzed it as part of our.
Where is the electricity going to come from?
Analysis. It come from a diverse grid.
It's 110 degrees in my hometown today. The wind is not blowing, the sun is shining, and after 4 hours of darkness, there will be no batteries on this planet that can produce a reliable source of baseload, dispatchable power. We have no plan for this. So please get back to me on the question that I asked you, and if waivers are being used that have not been granted for justification, this is overreach to a point that we couldn't even imagine. Mr. Chairman, I know my time is up.